YOLO, and welcome back for episode 7 of our Pokemon Emerald Hardcore Nuzlock. Previously, we had defeated Flannery with this team. Well, technically, only with Kipper, but our team as it currently sits is Kipper, the Psychotic Blood Murder Machine, level 24. Squidward, level 23. Life Death, level 22. Clifford, level 24. Shinron, level 23. And then the cannon fodder, which is Max at level 14. But don't get used to Max, because Max is going to be going back in the PC here in a sec. Reason being, we have a mysterious egg that we need to hatch. So we're going to have to, run around a whole lot and have a party slot open. So Max can go back in the PC where Max belongs. In fact, we probably need to move our team around a little bit, since we don't really need a water type in Squidward, since we've got Shinron and Kipper as water types already. So I grab Toothless, add it to the party, and give it the experience share. After that little bit of team rearranging is done, we go ahead and head out of town. Get as far away from this potentially active volcano as possible. Well, potentially volatile volcano, since it didn't really go active and explode, but nevertheless, we make our way over to Route 117 to the daycare. And that's where we do some real team rearranging. Because the beauty of this daycare is it can hold 2 Pokemon at once. Now, there's not going to be any shenanigans
Yeah, boy.
happening with my Pokemon. But I am going to use this Pokemon Center, or daycare, to grow 2 of my weaker Pokemon and get them leveled up. Because as we saw with Flannery's fight, I was, a good chunk under-leveled, but I had a 4 times super effective, or I guess 4 times resistant, typing. And, Kipper was absolutely bloodthirsty. So we're going to have to get these Pokemon up into fighting shape. I go, grab the new bike, I think it's the Mach bike or the Acro bike, I get the 2 mixed up all the time, and then we just run back and forth a lot till the egg evolves. This ends up taking a little bit, so we're going to do a quick editing cut here, and boom! And just like that, our little baby egg hatches, and now we're a mother. I'm something of a mother myself.
Well, you're quite the science whiz. I'm something of a scientist myself.
I end up naming our little Wynot Momo, after Momo from Avatar: The Last Airbender.
You, my friend, are just a few plums short of a fruit pie.
Now that we have Wynot on the team, I go and take a look at its moveset, which is abysmal. Splash, Charm, and Encore. Now, I know these things don't learn any attacking moves. They learn, Mirror Coat and, Counterattack, Destiny Bond. It is a I get hit and then I hit you back kind of Pokemon. So we pop back in over here at the daycare, do some rearranging, put some Pokemon in the daycare to get leveled up in the background. But honestly, I'll probably end up doing some mining off screen, some grinding off screen at the daycare before our next episode. Because my goal is to get all the way to Norman, aka our father. We will fight through his gym, but we will not engage him since we're going to be drastically underleveled. And I don't want to have a snowball scenario where we just have death after death after death. Although, I do have a fun little story about Wynot, or more specifically, the evolved version, Wobbuffet. But before I tell you that fun little story about Wobbuffet that drove me insane as a child, we have to come over here to the casino. I mean, you know what it's like. I have to go gambling. It's, for the content for the channel, not because I'm a gambling addict or anything. But let's hit the roulette table and let's go gambling.
Go gambling! Aw, dang it! Aw, dang it! Aw, dang it! Aw, dang it!
Yeah, you get the idea. We lose over and over and over. There's really no winning in gambling. I mean, you may think you're winning, but you're really only recouping some of your losses. But moral of the story, don't go gambling.
Stop it. Get some help.
But now it's time for my Wobbuffet story. I was a wee little child playing Leaf Green. In the post-game where you get to go to those, I think it was the Orange Islands, or the Sevi Islands, whatever they're called. I go there, I'm catching wild Pokemon, filling out my national decks, and I catch this really cool Pokemon, Wobbuffet. And being a fan of the anime since I was, a wee child, I'm like, oh cool, I'm gonna have Wobbuffet on my team. So I add it to my team, and then I go back to the same area I caught it. And since the Pokemon in that area were a higher level, it seemed only natural to, train against them. So I put my Wobbuffet in the front of my party. You may already know where this is going, but if you don't, Wobbuffet's ability is Shadow Tag, which prevents other Pokemon from fleeing the battle. We had Wobbuffet leading the party in an area where we caught a Wobbuffet. So I ran through the grass, got into a fight with a Wobbuffet. I tried to swap into one of my other Pokemon to fight him. I couldn't swap. I tried to run. I couldn't run. I tried to attack. Wobbuffet doesn't have any attacking moves. All it can do is counter, like send the damage back. It cannot initiate damage. The wild Wobbuffet had the exact same situation. It could not attack me, so then I couldn't deal damage to it. So I sat there, clicking button after button after button for who knows how long. Because I could not just, turn off and then try again. Because this was back in the olden times when I would play Pokemon, where I would play for 2 or 3 hours without saving. So if I didn't go and, spam through it to the point of struggling, I would have lost 2 to 3 hours worth of progress. It was one of the most monotonous grinds, and I hated it. And ever since then, I kinda have been, I've kinda hated Wobbuffets because of that. But maybe having Momo on the team and, knowing stuff now as an adult, I might be able to actually enjoy Wobbuffets. But still, poor young Alex was sitting there suffering. No, I can't do anything. I haven't saved in ages. Moral of the story, always save frequently. And when you save, for some reason, do a double save, just in case. Wonder how Kipper's gonna kill this guy.
Gotta give him that hawk too and spit on that thing, you get me?
Murder! Goofy, shut up. I love murder. Goofy, I'll fucking do it again.
Oh, that clip will never not be funny to me. But after defeating this trick room, we try to get our reward from the guy, who then looks at us and tells us our bag is full. I did not even know you could have your bag full in a Pokemon game. I genuinely thought it was like an infinite void and you could just carry 999 of pretty much everything. So we come down here, take advantage of the free healthcare, where I have a complete ADHD brain moment, and forget to go sell stuff so I could grab the item from the guy. I ran into the building. Well, I did not run into the inside of the building. I ran into the wall of the outside of the building. Got distracted by something, forgot what I was doing, and was like, oh yeah, I gotta go to the desert and get my desert encounters. So we made it back up to Mauville City, ran around here, talked to a couple of people just in case, before we make our way back up to the desert, completely forgetting to grab that thing from the Trick Room guy, because, I have shiny object syndrome, I guess. Now, I was really hoping for, I think it was the Cacturn is the name of the Pokemon, but we got a Trapinch instead. Honestly, not gonna complain. A Dragon-type Pokemon would be phenomenal. Plus, this evolutionary line was beautiful. It was absolute perfection. And the only reason most people don't really care for it is because the whole physical special split, and then, Garchomp being the cooler, stronger ground dragon type. Now, yes, it does give you a crippling 4 times weakness to ice. But honestly, it's kind of worth it for Garchomp. And Flygon, not too bad. I was really tempted to catch this thing and then name it Flygon HG in honor of one of my favorite, Pokemon YouTubers, but I didn't. Now let's go ahead and take a look and see what the Pokedex entry has to say about this Pokemon. And also, I just realized we forgot to look at the Pokedex entry for Wynot, so I'll have to do that on the next episode, or the one after that. Pokedex entry number 116, Trapinch. Its big jaws crush through boulders. Because its head is so big, it has a hard time getting back upright if it tips over onto its back. Kinda like a turtle. It falls onto its back and then it's kind of stuck there. And fun fact about these Pokemon, or sorry, not these Pokemon, this Pokemon specifically, it's actually based on an antlion, which is an animal in real life, or an insect in real life, that burrows into the ground in usually sandy or desert-like environments, and then when ants come nearby, it will fling sand up at them. And due to the ground all being made of sand, the sand will cause like a little sand avalanche, and then the ants will slide in, falling straight into the center pile, or the bottom of the hole, where the antlion is, and then it'll eat them. Now, this Pokemon will be it's not going to really be our flyer, but, Flygon has the word fly in it, and it flies around. And we did just recently name a Pokemon Momo, so it only seems fitting that we name this one Appa. Hopefully I spelled it correctly, but I didn't do any research on how to spell Appa, so, you never know. But we go ahead, we grab a super potion, heal up our beloved party member, before we get into a fight with these random trainers here to, run the pockets, and also gain some sweet, sweet EXP. Although, Flygon did make me think of something. It starts out as Trapinch, which is ground type. Then it evolves into Vibrava, which is ground dragon. And then finally Flygon, which is ground dragon again. But it's based off of a dragonfly, which was bug type. And I could see an argument being made for flying, although that's kind of a weak argument, just because, it flies and it has wings. If anything, I could see it being a triple-typed Pokemon. Now, I know that we've been overdue for a new type to be added for a while now. The Fairy type was the last true addition to the type chart. I've never been a fairy guy. I was always a dragon guy, and then they added fairies. I'm like, I hate it. But we do need a cosmic type to be added, which would then have to get backlogged onto Palkia, Dialga, Chansey, Lunatone, Sonola. There's a lot of Pokemon that are space Pokemon that could benefit from a cosmic typing. But they're probably not going to do that because A, it's too much backlogging work. B, people are going to complain too much. C, they don't really be taking big risks like that anymore. And D, some of these Pokemon are already dual typed, and there's nothing you can do about it because they have both of their typings covered. Unless we go with my idea, which is we add triple typing. Did they just seriously give me the TM for Sandstorm in a sandstorm? And earlier, one of the kids on the beach gives you the held item Soft Sand while you're standing on a beach. Okay, that's enough of that electric dance music, EDM. But now let's go ahead and circle back to what I was saying about triple typing Pokemon. Flygon, obviously, we could go with Bug, Dragon, and Ground. But the Pokemon Drapion also could gain the Bug typing, as its pre-evolution Scorpio, or Scorpii, forgive me if I'm pronouncing all of these names wrong, but the cute little scorpion Pokemon starts out as Bug and Poison, and then when it evolves it becomes Poison and Dark. But it should be Bug, Poison, and Dark. There are plenty of cases like this, where Pokemon should have a third type, or it really makes sense for them to be one type and they're not, like Lugia. Flying and Psychic, even though its lore and its whole thing is about the ocean and the sea, only to then, in the next generation be like, oh, you mean Kyogre's job? And, speaking of Kyogre, I'm just saying, I never saw Kyogre, being a beached whale going onto land to fight Groudon. Clearly, Kyogre was scared. He needed the home field advantage. Groudon was like, oh, hell no. I can stand on so much as a single pebble. I'll throw hands and beat this fish black and blue. If Rayquaza didn't show up when he did, or won't show up when he will, in the future of our run, Kyogre would lose. I don't care about the type advantage, none of that matters. Groudon's got that dog in him! I mean, after all, he is the Sand Guardian.
Sand Guardian, Guardian of the Sand. Poseidon quivers before him! Fuck off!
But yeah, I'm definitely more of a fan of Groudon than I am Kyogre. Although both designs are absolute peak, they did not miss in this generation. when it comes to the starters, I guess Trico is a little bit of a disappointment. But the others, absolute bangers. Oh my Lanta, we need to get Shenron out of there. 1 HP, nah, miss me with all that. That was way too close for comfort, a single hit point. Imagine if we were 1 level lower. Shenron would have been dead, and then we wouldn't have been able to use the Dragon Balls to wish it back. And speaking of dragon, we throw out Toothless. Oh, what? I said dragon, and you thought I was going to say something else? Please, my maturity level is over 9,000. I'm not going to make some kind of dragon these nuts across your face joke.
These nuts? Ha! Got him! Got him!
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Stop it. Get some help.
But why? Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that?
But on a more serious note,
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
it got to the point where we only had Josh Waltz left, severely underleveled. We had to go for the super suction, and we hit the absorb strat through the heightened levels of invasion and lowered accuracy for the kill. We may have lost a very good soldier, life death, but we claimed the kill and saved the rest of our squad, who all was in danger that entire fight. Now, I am pretty upset about losing life death because I was planning on having that speed boost baton pass for the Elite Four and Champion. And I'm getting flashbacks to my Fire Red where it's like, oh, this Pokemon's gonna be super critical for my Elite Four team. Watches them die. Oh no! Now, am I upset that life death died? Absolutely. I was really counting on that baton pass strategy. But I was also not married to the idea, because I know, being a bug type kinda die, it's what they do. Speaking of dying, Sandshrews about to die because Kipper has this weird bloodlust look in his eyes. And then he suddenly gets angry that Sandshrew hid from him, before he decides to do it all again? Are we stuck in the loop of missing our attacks because Sandshrew is just a little bit faster and can hide from us? The aggravation I feel as I swap into Toothless is palpable, to say the least.
Huh. Toothless. I could have sworn you had... teeth.
Oh, our Toothless definitely has teeth. Or a beak, to put it more precisely, as she beaks him to death.
A swan. Excuse me? I was attacked by a swan, okay? You happy? A stupid swan.
Now, how about the real story?
That is the real story. It hangs out by Larson's dock. I was just walking by, and the thing came out of nowhere, and bam, beaked me right in the eye.
It beaked you.
You still don't believe me.
I've just never heard anyone use the word beaked as a verb before.
No, this isn't funny. That stupid bird attacked me. He could have blinded me. It's a vicious, vicious bird.
Next up, we have a Meryl to fight, and I already know what to do. Swap into Clifford, the small green electric dog. Now, you may find this shocking. Okay, I'm not gonna do that every time. That's a lie. I'm totally gonna do it every time. Maybe I won't do it every time, just so the bit doesn't get overplayed. But I'll still do it a couple of times. The shocking bit here and there, making some cheesy level dad jokes. We then make our way over to the PC to drop off Life Death into the dead box because it's no longer alive. What an ironic name, almost. Before I look over the team and try to find which of our Pokemon best fits the composition we have. And since we have an overwhelming weakness to Grass type as it currently sits, it seems like a no-brainer. We add Pompeii to the party. We then take a minute to heal up the party with this Nurse Joy, who's actually not at a Pokemon Center. Kinda weird and different before we start running all the way back and then rearrange our team, so we can head in the desert to do some more training before we see the tower. Now we are going to speed through this background tower bit as I make a mistake, and by a mistake I mean a series of continuous lapses in judgment. Starting with the fact that I ran into a Trapinch, so I thought, oh, I'll just re-roll a new encounter. And then I move on and get in Sandshrew. And I forgot that he was a valid encounter and I could catch him because this is technically a different zone. So I killed him, wasting our encounter here, which was the first of the mistakes I make.
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
Second mistake I made was not putting on the rappels. And then the third is failing this little bike thing over and over and over. So, we're just gonna do a quick editing cut rather than waste you guys' time and get right to the good point. And boom, just like that, I choose the fossil that gives us the leap. Obviously the greater of the two choices because of personal preference. Although I think technically the other Pokemon, whose name eludes me at this moment, gets shell armor, which would make him immune to critical hits, so technically he'd probably be a better choice than a Nuzlock. But I mean, Lily, just look at this silly little guy.
Aww. So cute. So cute.
If not friend, then why friend shape? But we make our way back into the desert, start running around, collecting the last few items, and battling the last few people here because we are a good chunk underleveled. And I'm probably going to have to do some grinding off screen because Josh Waltz, who's new to the team, is still in the teens, and these guys are in the 20s. And we have, the gym battle against our father coming up. So I'm going to fight everyone I possibly can, get to the point where we're right before fighting our father, before I do a little mining off screen and run around a whole lot at that daycare. Now, even though they're a higher level, most of these fights aren't really anything to write home about. So we're going to take a few quick cuts as we make our way through the remainder of this desert.
Gotta give him that hawk too and spit on that thing, you get me?
Murder!
Goofy, shut the fuck up.
I love murder.
Why? Goofy.
I'll fucking do it again.
Now, him, her, him, bodies!
Kipper's killing rampage ends up getting put to a stop by this Machop. As we get brought dangerously low, and I'm not going to risk losing my starter, so we start throwing everything we've got at him, and my party is starting to fall into shambles. Luckily, Clifford is able to get the paralysis on him and go for the kill. Before we end up making our way back over to the old lady's house for some free healing as she thinks we're her grandkid or something. She's just incredibly lonely. And it makes me feel slightly guilty and think that I should call or text my own grandmother. But then I do a double save and we move on with our adventure. End up using this bike, which feels like it's far too fast. I mean, I know I've got the background on speed up, but compared to the other bike, this, I think the Mach bike, the Acro bike, the Acro bike's the one that does tricks, the Mach bike moves super fast. It was moving way too fast. I dipped down into the desert, came back up here, fought a couple of Spindas, as you can see. One of the most annoying Pokemon for collectors. And now speaking of collectors, I gotta mention something that's going on right now. The Pokemon Company is shutting down, I think it was Pokemon Home or Pokemon Bank, which allows you to take Pokemon from your physical game cartridges all the way back to like first generation, second generation, third generation, all the old ones, and daisy chain them up into the new ones. They're removing that service, so it's no longer available. Now, I remember having Leaf Green and Fire Red, and doing the thing where you had a DS, and you had Pearl, Diamond, or Platinum in there. You would put your Game Boy game in the Game Boy slot of the DS, and then you could transfer Pokemon from your Leaf Green to Pearl, Diamond, and Platinum. And then later, from Pearl, Diamond, and Platinum, you could transfer them into X and Y. And then from X and Y, you get the idea. You are always able to move things up and daisy chain them across until it hit a certain point. And that certain point you needed external hardware or software, probably both, which is Pokemon Bank and Pokemon Home. But they're shutting all those services down, which means from now on, you will no longer be able to legitimately move your Pokemon from your old games up to the newer consoles. So I've seen just dozens of videos and clips of people scrambling to get their favorite Pokemon, or their living dexes, which is a whole nother thing, moved up to the current consoles. And for those of you who aren't familiar, a living dex is where you catch one of all kinds of Pokemon in a game. So you have an entire Pokedex filled out, and then you would migrate it over to the next game and have it filled out and gain all the Pokemon in that one, and then so on and so forth and what have you. I think this is an absolute L. Losing the ability to transfer Pokemon up was one of the coolest things, because then you could still be playing your Leaf Green on your Game Boy Advance, here in the year 2026, and you'd be able to take your starter, move him all the way up, and then play with him in, whatever region you want. Now, he would be a higher level, obviously, But you could have your sweet little Bulbasaur from Leaf Green all the way in Sword and Shield, or in Scarlet and Violet, or in the new upcoming Wind and Waves. It was a super cool, unique thing that I had not seen anyone ever replicate or anyone ever do in any other type of video games. So I'm very sad that we're losing this as a member of the Pokemon community myself. Yes, I'm something of a Pokemon master myself.
I mean, you're quite the science whiz. You know, I'm something of a scientist myself.
But that's enough of a tangent and a rant for right now. Let's go ahead and recap what's been happening in the background. I got to my dad's gym. The normal, basic, boring type gym. And I've been fighting my way through all these grunts and guards, trying to rack up that sweet, sweet EXP. We've also added Goku and Appa back into the party, and I taught them each a TM. Goku I taught Bulk Up, which raises attack and defense, and Appa I taught Dig, for those nefarious strats against my father's slacking. But let's be honest, we kinda need to use those strats. Reason being, slacking has a base stat total of 670, putting him on par with legendary Pokemon. The only reason he's not overpowered is because the game developers were like, well, hang on.
Oh shit. Here we go again.
No, 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 no. Wait. Wait.
And update, it hurts.
That is quite unfortunate. Especially since I went and just taught Goku Bulk Up. But, I mean, I guess that's kind of what I get for having underleveled Pokemon. I was trying to grind against these people to gain levels so I wouldn't be underleveled, but, you know, one hit from a Wigglytuff like that'll do you in, I guess. But as I was saying, the game developers were like, oh wow, this slacking is way too overpowered. We need something to, you know, hold it back. Let's give him the ability Truant, so he just basically sits there being a fat tub of lard every other turn and does absolutely nothing. They were actively trying to prevent power creep back then, compared to nowadays where it feels like power creep is overwhelming. After dropping Kakarot off in the dead box, we grab Shedinja, because I know that Shedinja's ability, Wonder Guard, is going to come in clutch against a few of these people. This Zangoose, for example. There are a lot of people in this gym who do not have the ability to hit Shedinja, so that's one of the moments where he will shine. That and against, you know, Norman, our father. If you're wondering, yes, I did in fact look up what Pokemon our father Norman has, but more importantly, I looked up what moves they have. That way I can strategically plan it out like a battle master throwing out Shedinja at moments like this where Zangoose literally can't do anything to us, so it's an auto win. I'm gonna do that against our dad. Now, not because I want to humiliate him in his own place or be disrespectful or anything like that, or I'm not having patricidal thoughts. No, this is for one reason and one reason alone. Our dad did not help us unpack when we moved here. Like, sure, he sent a couple of Vigoroth, and one of them just looked like he was dry humping the TV, so it wasn't really that helpful. But you're telling me you're so busy with work, you don't have the time to help your wife and kid unpack in their new home, and you also had to stick me in the back of a moving van, which I don't think that's legal, but we're gonna ignore that part. Yeah, I was literally Googling it, that's why the screen isn't changing. But I'm gonna go ahead and end the video here because I stopped right before we go fight our dad. That way I can do all the mining or leveling up off screen. But thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the flip side.